Jennifer Silva Redmond is the author of Honeymoon at Sea, How I Found Myself Living on a Small Boat, and a freelance editor. Her essays, articles, and fiction have been published in numerous anthologies and magazines and on sites such as Brevity. Jennifer is on the staff of Southern California's Writers Conference and San Diego Writers, Inc. She was the prose editor of A Year in Ink, Volume 3, and a co-founder of the critically acclaimed Sea of Cortez Review. Formerly editor-in-chief of Sunbelt Publications, Jennifer is now the editor-at-large. She's lived with artist, writer, teacher Russel aboard their sailboat, Watchfire, on the west coast of North America for much of the past 35 years. Welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I should have said Latitude 38 and Cruising World and Sail. I don't know why I talked about my literary magazines, but at any rate, I've been in those magazines too. So this is where it all began. There I am in New York City in the snow, far from beautiful waters of Mexico, not even thinking about being on a sailboat ever in my life. Never even occurred to me. And I went home and I re-met my old flame. He proposed after we went sailing one afternoon, and we decided to get married. And 6 months after we were married, we moved aboard the boat and we took off for a 1,000-mile journey from San Diego to Cabo San Lucas. Luckily, I didn't know how much I didn't know. So I wasn't worried. I'd grown up in California, so I was, swimming, surfing, all of that was second nature to me. So I just thought, oh, this will be just like being at the beach. We went out and did some sailing. We, of course, took seamanship classes, and I'll talk a little bit later about our navigational classes. I learned how to provision and do quite a few other things, and that little 26-foot sailboat is the one that we took off on for Cabo San Lucas. There's Baja California at the top left corner of that map. You'll see we're just above the border is San Diego, and we sailed down and around and up into the Sea of Cortez, or Gulf of California, as it's called on this map. The power and cruising picture is a picture of our boat that was taken the first night we were in Mexico at a little island called Todos Santos. We went hiking, and we were the only boat in this little anchorage. We went hiking, and then we looked down and said, oh, a power boat came in, ruined our little honeymoon cove. We went down, and it was John and Pat Rains, who are very well-known West Coast boat skippers and have written and done a million seminars, really great people. So that we thought was a very good omen to take off on our trip. One of the things that we studied was celestial navigation. And celestial navigation, for those of you who probably are all thinking of GPSs and that sort of thing, is using a sextant to take a shot of the sun or stars. And Russell would do that, and I would do the figuring. When I look through a tiny thing when the boat is going like this, it makes me nauseated. And when he looks at numbers and figures and math, it makes him nauseated. So once again, the perfect marriage. But that's him doing a line of position on the chart that we also did coastal navigation along with the celestial navigation. And we joked about, once we said to somebody, we do celestial navigation, and they thought we said sexual navigation. We just were like, what? But from that point on, of course, we had to refer to it as sexual navigation, which we thought was pretty funny. We had been anchoring each night from that picture you remember in Todos Santos. It was about 5 nights of anchoring each night because I was just not used to being out in the ocean. I wasn't exactly seasick, but I wasn't exactly cheery. It was beautiful, but each night we would come in and we would anchor. And then after about a week of this, he said, well, we could go out to this San Benito's Island. And I looked at the chart and I read about it. It was a sea lion rookery and there were elephant seals. I went, oh yeah, let's do that. He said, well, you're going to have to go through the night. It's going to be a night watch. So I said, oh, no problem. I've been doing watches. I know how to do that. I've been in the night, no problem. We headed out into the sea and we took our shots and we were right on course and, had our dinner. The sun's going down. He went below and all of a sudden it was really dark. Now, the coast of Baja has very little ambient light because there's very little people on the coast. So it was dark, dark, like desert dark. There was no moon. And for some reason, after all of my years of being near the ocean and a little bit now on the ocean, all of a sudden, everything just sounded like a potential disaster to me. Every crash of waves sounded like, am I too close to the shore? I knew I wasn't. I was 10 miles offshore. But every blow of water sounded like a whale, and I started to panic. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't go below on my very first night watch and say, you have to come up and hold my hand. And I was like, I cannot do that. So I just started trying to talk myself down. And I was thinking, well, think of all those kids that would go to sea and they had never left England or Spain or France. And suddenly they're on a ship sailing around the ocean, sailing off what they thought was the end of the world. Now, I've seen men land on the moon. I know what the solar system looks like. I've been on plenty of planes. So I just started thinking, okay, we're on the earth and the earth is right where it belongs. Everything is moving just as it should. This moon will come up, the sun will come up. And I just sort of talked myself down. And then as I was thinking that, I looked up at the constellations and I thought, everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And that means my boat is exactly where it's supposed to be. And even though I'm just the most infinitesimal speck in this universe, this boat is sitting on this globe that is mostly water, and it is holding us in its watery hands. That moment changed my life forever. That was almost 37 years ago. And I haven't stopped sailing since. And we've got a different boat, which you'll see later. But that night, of course, the moon came up. Of course, we took our watches. And of course, we ended up at the island that we aimed for. But more than that, I realized that every night passage is a passage we've already done. We go through the night every night. We trust that the sun will come up. We trust that the moon will be there. And that was all I needed, was really to trust that I was exactly where I should be. And so it was a sort of a cosmic moment, but more than that, it was a practical moment. The boat is made to travel on the ocean. The ocean is made to do what it does. But it definitely was a life-changing passage. And the next day when he said, cheers to your first night passage, I thought, well, not exactly my first night passage, but definitely my first night passage on a boat. And it was a wonderful moment to arrive. Of course, I also learned how long it takes from when you first spot an island to when you actually get there. It was the better part of a day to actually arrive, but it was one of the great islands. We had some company greeting us when we got there, which was sea lions and also some elephant seals. So I got to look over the side. It was still too cold to go in the water at that time of the year, but look at and they swam right up to my snorkel, which was the beginning of my love affair with the Sea of Cortez. There was Watchfire off some of the cinder cones of Baja there. We found some beautiful beaches, of course, along the way, and enjoyed anchoring there and out at the islands. This one is San Francisco Island, right off of La Paz, and that is near the town of Loreto. This is all on the Sea of Cortez or Gulf of California. And so once we had conquered the trip down to Cabo and up into the Sea of Cortez, this is what we had waiting for us. And of course, it's gorgeous, and the water got warm, so that was nice. Puerto Gatos, those colors have not been retouched. That really is what it looks like. We used to say it was like sailing through the Grand Canyon with water added. And the water is gorgeous and clear. Oh, that's us on our little boat. And I can't believe now that I look at it that it was so small. I never thought of it as being small because it was the first boat I'd ever lived on. So it just was the boat. Another one of the beautiful anchorages, San Juanico. Of course, I had to jump into the water. And the water did start warming up, as I said. I got to go scuba or skin diving for the first time and caught my first fish. And who knew it? This hippie girl, flower child, suddenly turned into a monster for fishing and in spear fishing. So that kind of changed my life too, though I don't do as much of it anymore. The on the bow of the boat, and we spent a year in Baja. Then we traveled down the west coast of Florida, went through the Panama Canal, as you can see, and then we sailed up to Florida, where some of you are right now. We were in Bradenton, and then we came around the Redneck Riviera and over to Alabama and then New Orleans, where some of you are right now, and enjoyed that trip. And then we did, in fact, go back down to Baja again on that same boat. About 25 years ago, we upgraded to, I won't say upgraded, but sized our current Watchfire, which is tremendously large at 35 feet. Still seems big to us. And that's a picture of us here in the Pacific Northwest where we are right now. We're anchored at an island there. Me, I believe, piloting us through Deception Pass. So that we've just had some great adventures in the last 5 years. And the last shot is me in my studio, my writing studio here on the boat. Look forward to taking any questions you guys have. But if you want to know more, in the next slide, you can see my boat, which is, of course, how I found myself living and also how I found myself living on a small boat. So that tells the story of that first year in Baja California and a little bit about how it all began and how a kid from Venice, California, and New York ended up on a boat in Baja. So thanks for your attention. And if anybody has questions, I guess that's our next step.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was awesome. What a life. I mean, how many times have you been through the Panama Canal?
Just that once, actually.
Okay.
The next time we went down to Baja on the same boat, the 26 foot, we sailed down to Baja. We stayed actually off and on 5 years. Our boat was in Baja the whole time. Then we sailed up to Sonora, Mexico, which is on the other side of the sea, and we trucked it home, and we trucked it back to San Diego. So I like to say we circumnavigated Mexico. You know, it's a technical term, not exactly right, but
Right.
and we ended up back in San Diego that's where I started working at a company that produced books about Baja and also charts and maps about Baja and all of California. But I found my niche there, writing and producing books about Baja and Mexico. So it was pretty
Cool.
great. What was my favorite Baja site? We had pictures of two of them that I really love. San Francisco Island, which is right off of La Paz. I love the city of La Paz. It's a very welcoming and very friendly, but it's a big city. It's not a big city like Cabo is. The little town of Loreto, where we stayed, which is near Bahia Escondido, not to be confused with the Escondido that is on the mainland of Mexico, where the surfers go. Both of those are very, very great. And Loreto is somewhere you can fly into. You can fly into La Paz or Loreto. Both of those have plenty of wonderful spots. And the Mexican government's done a wonderful job at turning pretty much that whole midriff of the Sea of Cortez is protected now. So it's the fish has come back, and it's beachcombing heaven, it's sailing heaven. It's lovely. And we're heading back next year.
How long will it take you to sail back down there?
Well, the way we go, Russell once said, the rate we travel, if we went around the world, it would take 35 years. We are not ones to be, we like to go fast on a day's sail to go out and somewhere back, but we'll be sailing down with the Coho-Ho-Ho. If those of you know about the Baja Ha, that goes from San Francisco down to Cabo. The Coho-Ho-Ho goes from Seattle. They go to Port Townsend, where we are now, and then we'll join them for the Port Townsend down to San Francisco jump. So we'll do that in August, which is the best time to go down. And we're going to stay in San Francisco a little while because we love it, and it's a fun place to hang out and sail and see all of our sailing buddies.